He goes and then he comes back to Damayanti and he sees her sleeping so peacefully. He's torn between leaving her alone or staying with her, and so he makes several attempts to leave or stay. But however, since he's under the influence of Kali, he finally leaves her alone in the forest, thinking that's the best outcome for her and that she doesn't need to suffer with him. He's very certain that once she wakes up, she will go to her parents' place when she's not able to find him. Now, Damayanti wakes up, she doesn't find Nala around, she calls for him around, and then she thinks he's hiding behind the trees, and she calls for him again and is asking him to stop playing around. She's very frightened and she's terrified in the forest, and she then begs for him to come back, but there's no sign of Nala. She continues walking into the forest in search of Nala. She's hungry, exhausted, thirsty, and in terrible pain and grief that she's walking alone in the forest and Nala has left her alone. She continues in her sorrow. She's also very young and inexperienced to be in a forest. She asks to herself, how can Nala, who knows Dharma, can abandon her in this state? And as she was crying and walking alone, she comes across a python, specifically a large boa constrictor. As she approaches near the snake, this hungry large snake grasps her and it begins to constrict her. And the snake is trying to devour her. Even at this stage, she's not actually scared of the snake, but she was so much overcome by her grief, and she once again laments about Nala and asks and talks to herself for him to come and rescue her, and everything will be back to normal. If he'll come back, he'll be freed from all his evil and all the miseries. At this time, a hunter passes by and he sees this beautiful Damayanti being in distress and being devoured by the snake. He immediately takes out a weapon and he kills the snake, and he thus rescues Damayanti. He then asks her, taken by her beauty, who are you and what are you doing all alone in this forest? Then Damayanti narrates to him everything about who she is, how Nala lost their kingdom and how they're separated. But soon this hunter's intentions become clear, that he is desiring her and he is trying to violate her. Damayanti understood this, and as soon as the hunter tries to force her, she cries out loud. She says if her love for Nala is true and if she hasn't thought of anyone else, then this hunter should die before he does anything to her. Her words were so powerful. As she says this, the hunter falls to the ground lifeless. After this incident, Damayanti, she continues her journey into the forest. She comes across many wild animals, beasts, birds, trees, plants. In the book, there is a detailed mention of every kind of animal, the names of the trees she comes across. She continues for several days and months, continuing to lament, cry, thinking about Nala and talking to the trees and the mountains, asking if anyone has seen Nala. She's not scared by any of the beasts. There's even a time she spots a tiger and she asks the tiger about Nala's whereabouts, and the tiger just looks at her and it just crosses her and goes to drink water. Finally, she sees a beautiful hermitage in the middle of the forest where she spots great sages like Vashishta, Brigu and Atri. These sages lived only on air and water. There were many kind of beautiful plants, animals surrounding this hermitage. Now, the sages also spot beautiful Damayanti in the middle of the forest. She was radiant and she was looking lovely, and she approaches the sage and then she pays her respect to them. They are also intrigued on spotting her. The sages ask her who she is and what they can do for her. They tell her not to be sad and ask if she is the goddess of the forest. And then Damayanti narrates to the sages about who she is and how she came about to be in the forest. She continues to say about that she is the daughter of Bhima and the daughter-in-law of Veerasena and wife of Nala of Nishada. She says that if she cannot find Nala in a few days, she may as well end her life. After hearing this from Damayanti, the sages say to her that she will once again see Nala and once again they will be together and all their misfortune will end and they will regain their prosperity. After saying this to Damayanti, the sages, the rishis, they just disappear. There is no sign of this beautiful hermitage and it's almost like an illusion. Damayanti is taken aback at the disappearance and she's once again saddened. She begins to wonder if she was actually imagining these things, She's been in the forest for such a long time. She continues to wander in the forest for a very long time, and she goes deeper and deeper. She comes across many beautiful mountains, streams, valleys, plants, animals, birds. And after traveling for a very long time, she spots a large caravan with many elephants, horses, and chariots. It's situated by the banks of a beautiful, crystal clear river. She approaches the people there, and at this, she looks sorrowful and she's unkempt, she's dirty, she's covered in dust, and she's still clad in her half piece of garment. All seeing her this way, some were frightened of her, some were making fun. There were others who were angry at the sight of her, and then there were also others who showed pity on her. The leader of the caravan approaches Damayanti, and then he asks her who she is. And if again they ask her the same question as the sages, that if she is a goddess of the forest or if she's a yakshi or a rakshasi, and they tell her that they don't want any kind of trouble from her. At this, Damayanti relays her entire story, and once again she asks them if they have spotted Nala. At this, the leader of the caravan, his name is Sachi, he tells her that they only come across wild animals in this forest and nothing else. And Damayanti then asks where they were heading to, and Sachi replies to her saying that they were merchants and they were going to the kingdom of Chedi, which is ruled by a king called Subahu, and they were basically going to go there and do some trading. So Damayanti hopes that she may actually see her husband Nala at the kingdom of Chedi, so she joins the merchants in their caravan. So she travels with the group, and after passing several days, caravan decides to rest for the night near a pond in the middle of the forest. This place has clean and clear water, and there were many fruits and roots and good grasslands. With the leader's permission, they decide to halt for the night, and they're all sleeping. At this time, a group of wild elephants, they enter the area and they were going to drink water from the stream. And these wild elephants spot the caravan, and along with the caravan, they were all asleep, and then they begin to attack. They trample all over them, and then there is such a huge chaos. Some of the people were trampled by the elephants, and then they were killed, and the others were running and hiding among the creepers in the forest, and all the animals were running too. So by the end of this night, this prosperous group of merchants, they were destroyed. They all were very sad and lamenting at the loss of their friends, children, father, etc. Damayanti, at the sight of this, thinks that she is the reason for the misery and the fortune that was caused by the merchants.